I had a moment where I felt like, shit, man, being a pioneer, it sucks. Because, you're broke for a long fucking time and people, and it's not a question of like trying to look like you live beyond your means or anything like that, but it's just like, you have a certain, I'm not going to look like, I'm going to look the way I look, I'm going to dress the way I dress, and it's very interesting how people, and as you said that earlier, think they know you and think they can put you into the box that fits the kind of energy that you project. But the truth is that it truly is what you are. It's just that abundance in its material form has not arrived and reached your bank account yet. But at least you're living with that purpose. You're living with that energy. You're in that vibe. But the bank account does not reflect necessarily, that energy that you have. But I think it's just a matter of time before, and also knowing how you're going to set your cards. And so playing into the game of seeking and first of all, seeking fame and recognition is a dumb shit to do, in my opinion, because it is bestowed upon you by the people that see the hard work that you put forth, right? So
yeah, absolutely. And you nailed it, man. Album of the year, bro. Congratulations, man.
Thank you, brother. How to flatter the ego.
But and I bring that up because the humility is not hunting for that album of the year, right? No. You got album of the year, and that excitement probably lasted you like what, a day or two, and the next day you're like, let's go, let's keep going.
It lasted for the time it lasted. It was actually about an hour.
Right. I was gonna say that, but that's and that's because the ego you check the ego, and it's like it's not about you. It's about what comes through you, which is the divine source, and people forget that. It's like people forget that, and they look at the person and it's like, oh, you do so many things and you do this. Oh, you're so great. And it's like, yeah, it goes through me. I just do a lot of work to get out of the way so it can go through me. That's it. Right. So that's where the humility comes in, and that constant pushing of the edge and pushing the boundaries that a lot of people are not willing to do, because they're skipping all the little parts just to get to the fame and to get to the likes and to get to the money and to get to the thing. And it's like, well, how long have you been doing what you do? Right?
Exactamundo. And I think that's really one of the issues of our society, even more than ever now, that we can see, right? And I want to ask you a question, philosophical, but that idea of the divine, right? Like you stepping out of the way to let that energy go through you instead of you being in the way and trying to own this energy, which technically you cannot actually own. Well, you can be a conduit of that energy, but by essence, it's made to be, you're just a conduit of that energy. What is the divine according to your experience or knowledge? In a philosophical way, or maybe more spiritual. I don't know.
Yeah. Let's go there. We're made up, and based on my practice of meditation and yoga and scriptures, science, we're made up of energy, right? And that's we know this. And when we just that simple statement, we're made up of energy, period. Get out of the way.
Yeah.
If we leave it at that, so much is available to us. I'm made up of energy. I don't even know where this energy comes from, where it goes. I don't know how it's here. I don't know how this energy makes up nails and eyes. I don't know how this energy creates a brain that I think words and share. I don't know how any of this works, but I know that I'm made up of energy, and I don't even know how I know that. And it's so simple that when the personality, my person, my name, Pablo, me, gets in the way of like, oh, well, what is that? Or just starts to like dive into that quality of I'm made up of energy. When we do this together, it's something dissolves and something gets out of the way instantly, just by recognizing the statement, I'm made up of the same energy that stars are made up of right now. Like you and I are made up of the same energy the electronic device is made up right now. We're breathing the same air in the same space, floating in time right now.
It's crazy.
It's crazy. And that craziness, to me, that's a miracle, right? That this is happening. And that miracle is what I call the divine. Right. And when I remember this and I get out of the way to speak it, it's like the divine says, okay, it doesn't say anything, obviously, but it's like the brain is going to process and it's going to express and it's going to create.
Yeah.
And that's it. Right. The thing is that we sometimes get in the way of that. To address that is to control how my character wants it to look. Right. That's when we start to, when I want to control how this energy is expressed. Right. Yeah. When I think about it too much, when I think, what do I want to say, instead of just allowing myself to feel, well, I'm made up of the same thing Boddhi is made of, and Genie is made of, and all these people that are here and not here are made of. We're breathing the same air that the ancestors breathed and are still breathing. Our future ancestors are still breathing. It's this continuum. And it's like, this is so miraculous. Right.
But do you think it is miraculous because of the fact that it is by essence fragile?
It's miraculous because there's.
Or is it?
I mean, to me, it's because it's fragile, because it's mysterious, because there's no like the science of it and the explanation of it reaches a certain point. And beyond that, the next question cannot be answered, but yet it still exists. And that beyondness cannot be, you can't even put words to it, and it still exists. And that to me is like, whoa, okay, this feels expansive. This feels spacious, or I can call it, this feels good, or I feel harmony, or this is divine. These are just letters, right, and words that are beyond the feeling of this, what's in between the energetic.
It qualifies something greater than yourself, right? But
right.
But is it so my question is, okay, I understand this approach, and I can definitely align myself with this interpretation, but there was a movie that I watched some time ago, man, on Netflix, and so it was this powerful life force that arrived. It's extraterrestrial stuff that are landed on Earth, and it created this bubble. And within that bubble, everything that force touched changed. So nature, like normal trees became super huge. Regular animals became massive beasts. Everything was transformed by this abundance of life brought by this, extraterrestrial, source of energy, which had the capacity to bring life. But in order to bring this life, it took life. So there was an interesting parallel with, the idea. I mean, in my opinion, I made that parallel with, like, you know, it's very interesting how we deal all the time with this idea of death. Death is as living or as present as life. As a matter of fact, there's a consistency uh, when it comes to our connection with life as much as our connection to to death is concerned. Where it's like there's the death of the ego, death of this, there's a death of staying in the way, step out of the way, kill that, like kill the bullshit. There's, it's almost like humans have I wanna say that we fail to add or create new ways of using words to qualify certain things that I think are not necessarily a question of death. They're um, just like, for example, us living the place where we were before, like 4.5 years ago. There's no death of anything. It's just a natural progress or transition into a different experience of your life, right? But now people will like, yeah, simplify the shit. It's dead, it's life, it's past, whatever. So there's my question is the isn't the divine? I'm asking you, but at the same time, I'm asking myself the question. Is like, isn't the divine also this has nothing to do with it? But again, it's a stretch of ideas, right? We're experimenting here. I like that. I like where we're going with this. But isn't the divine um, a it's a reality, but could it also be? That's the question. Could it also be? And again, we're being philosophical here. A sense of continued reincarnation or transformation of energy. That's the question that sometimes I tend to ask myself. Is that okay? There's a divine force of life, that what we call, the universe, whatever, God, Allah, Krishna, Yahweh, whatever you call, whatever you call it. But it's like there's a sense of it gives life, but it also gives death. It takes back, but it gives at the same time.
Yeah.
It's crazy, man. This is deep.
I love it, and that's a beautiful, beautiful question. Is the divine? Does the divine give life and take life? And to me, divine, even calling it divine, has a quality. That word has a quality to it, where I feel that all of life and death is just happening, because even if we believe in reincarnation, what reincarnates, right, is spirit,
Mm-hmm.
right? And if we don't believe in reincarnation, does spirit still exist?
Mm-hmm.
And does it still unform, deform, uniform, inform? Does it still construct, destruct, do its thing as it is? So, if we're energy, even the word energy is so small to describe what is it that we're made of, right? But scientifically speaking, if we're energy, then does that go anywhere after this body is gone?
Mm-hmm.
Right.
It's a
So
great question.
and is there anything that you say, is this divine force, is it giving, is it truly giving anything or truly taking anything? If it just is, can it give and take?
Mm-hmm. So that's exactly right. So it's like if it is, then there's no such thing as give and take. There's just us seeing it as give and take when actually it's just the normal cycle of life.
Right, right. And
Well,
yeah, and to ground this information, this is where we start to get into control, and we say, oh, life good, death bad.
mm-hmm.
I want to live, I don't want to die.
Mm-hmm.
Please give me more life and more time. Please don't take time and give me death.
Mm-hmm.
Right, trying to control the thing. and we don't even know what we're controlling, right? It's all
Because
here.
we have no control over it anyway. You could anything. The simplest, tiniest thing could end your life like that, and it's like we have a fake impression of control over life, which is, I think a lot of people spend too much time trying to uh, stay away from death than being close to life, getting closer to life.
Yeah. And there's no education in Western countries. There's not education on death, right? It's not celebrated. In other countries there is an education. I mean, I'm talking about education like from tradition, from families being passed on about
Mhm.
what death is and how close it is to us. But when we live in these big cities, we're not close to it, right? So we can't
Yeah.
be sensitive to it and learn with it, right? It's like even older people, like when you go to a city, you don't see that much elders. You don't see elders, so we're even
True.
retreated further away from people that are aging, right? And it's like, wow,
Absolutely.
if this is the natural cycle of life, what a gift, right? And then a
Mhm.
lot of people are also trying to fight aging and the natural evolution of the physical body and the wrinkles and gray hair, and it's like, this is beautiful, man. It's gonna happen.
There's
It's gonna
there
get
is.
you. It's gonna get you.
It's gonna get you for reals.
Yeah.
But I can understand it because there's a sense of decay that comes with aging, right? Where, you know, some of the elderly folks that I know, there's one I can think of right now is like, I can tell, and he actually confessed, he was like, "Yo, man, aging is not, it's not doing it for me at all. Like I can't deal with the lack of mobility, with the with I don't have the And I'm looking at this guy and I'm like, yeah, but there's people your age who are still mobile, still moving, bouncing, dancing, whatever. And it's like it's almost like you're too busy thinking about what you don't like about aging instead of building your. And it's so sad because it's like, and then the regrets come. It's like, oh, if I knew, I should have, I could have, I would have, and it's like I'm not trying to build what I'm supposed to be building tomorrow. I'm trying to build it now, man. I want to make sure that this temple, this body of mine that carries me in this lifetime is as healthy and as mobile and as active and as alive and as long as possible. But
Yes.
for that, you've got to make sure that you cultivate the right type of thoughts and you feed yourself not only spiritually but physically with the right things, which
Yes.
then falls back to your point about Costa Rica having this massive wealth in natural resources, as in nature, Mother Nature providing so much. Um, what are some of the applications of that for you as far as your lifestyle and have you ever been eating meat, or you've always been a vegan, or are you a vegan? Are you a vegetarian? What are you like? What's your regimen?
Yeah, I when I first started into when I first got into meditation and yoga, I began a cleansing process. So during that time, occasionally I had, alcohol, I had unconscious foods, not just meats, but unconscious like fast foods. So I
Mhm.
began to detox and clean my body. So I started fasting, I started
Mhm.
juicing, I started eliminating the meats and unnecessary artificial stuff and canned stuff, fast foods out the door. So I started seeing the benefits of it.
Mhm.
And living in the States, I was vegan for about, let me think, about, I would say 7 years. No red meat,
Wow.
and no chicken for about 14 years. Um, and eating more plants, and it was easy for me to do that living in Miami, because it's harder to source quality meats in Miami at that time. You could do it, but it's harder. And I like to know where my food comes from. right? I want to be able to see it. I want to meet the people that harvest my food and bring me the food. There's something that if we can do that, that's great, as much as possible. And then when I moved to Costa Rica 4.5 years ago, I started eating red meat again, right? And I started eating chicken and I started eating fish more frequently. And the reason why is because I know where the meat is sourced, and it's consciously sourced, and
it's excellent, and the taste must be as well completely different, right?
Amazing. I mean, you don't even need to put salt on this meat. It's like amazing. The local cows, local chickens, local fish, and trout. So so I started incorporating the meat also because I noticed my body, we live in higher altitude. So higher in the mountains, there's more water, and we're in higher altitude. So the first few months I was foggy. I was like lightheaded. And I'm like, something is going on. So the sister practice of yoga is Ayurveda, which is learning how to eat according to your constitution and the elements. Now, I don't believe Ayurveda promotes meat eating. However, I started trying to eat meat and I started to feel better. Also, we living in the mountain, life is a little bit harsh on the body. So we move more, we walk more. So it felt good. I felt amazing. So I started incorporating meat into my daily regiment of food intake. So my food is, I don't label myself vegan, vegetarian, carnivore. I eat consciously, as much as possible. And if I'm traveling and I want to eat something amazing from another country, or somebody brings me a plate of food, I'm going to receive it and I'm going to eat it. And I'm going to enjoy it. Yeah, absolutely.
I like that. I'm a conscious eater. You eat consciously.
Yeah. And sometimes I can tell when if I ate meat like twice a month, I can feel my body's like, hey, that's too much meat, right? I can feel the energy of this big beast, right? Because what we're ingesting is a system, right? So if you imagine how big is a cow, right? And how big is a fish, and how big is a tomato, this is the information in the system of information that we're ingesting. So our system is going to take more time to process a bigger system like a cow. It's going to take less time to process the system of a tomato. Same thing with the consciousness. The consciousness of a tomato and the consciousness of a cow are different. And if I ingest those, my system is still processing that information, right? So as long as we're aware of this, right, then the question is it worth it for me to feel vitality because I had a steak and know that I'm processing the consciousness of a cow that died in service to my vitality, right? And my answer to myself at this moment is yes, it's worth it.
Is consciousness the result or the sign, or is consciousness better yet? Is consciousness validated or materialized, better yet, materialized through vitality, life force, or life? Put simply, is consciousness materialized through life? And if consciousness is materialized through life, what you're saying is that because something is alive and functions just like you and I, we don't know how these nails come, but there is a higher consciousness controlling or giving birth to that. I mean, we just spoke about it. It's rather abstract, right? As to pretending to know what could be. I mean, scientists would be able to tell you, but if we are being completely open-minded and receiving that information, what would you say? Because I like the concept, but of saying that you're ingesting the consciousness of a much bigger, system, right? Talking about the cow or the tomato, much smaller, more easier to digest. People don't necessarily, most people would not understand that. They're like, what? Huh? Consciousness? Because the associate consciousness with intelligence, we intellect. So we are here. We're addressing consciousness in which form?
It could be we can use it as intellect. So the level of intelligence of a cow, I'm ingesting it, right? So the cow is made up of, it has a certain level of consciousness.
It does.
Different than a tomato, right?
Definitely.
If we pet a tomato, the tomato is going to have a response because it's alive, and it's going to be different than if we pet a cow. The cow's going to have a response because it's alive. And I feel these are two systems made up of energy that we are ingesting, and we're ingesting their constitution, what they're made out of, how they think, how they process information. Not good or bad, but these things are processing information, and the world of a cow processing is experience of life, right? Eating grass and whatever is going to be passed on to me. So if I eat, this is again philosophy and
of course that's what we do.
If you think a cow that's in an environment that is of death, and it's tight and it's compressed and there's it's horrible living conditions for a cow. That cow, that processing system is experiencing stress, and that information it's going through the entire body. So when it gets butchered, I'm ingesting that body of information at some level. So you take another cow living free, roaming free, still going through the process of what it's going to go through right before it's butchered, killed, to be eaten. I'm still ingesting that information. So it's like, if I have a choice, which system I'm going to ingest, because I have a choice, I'll go for the one that has suffered less. Same thing with how we choose our friends. I want to hang out with friends that are not suffering and dramatic and negative, right? Because I'm ingesting that just in a conversation. Right now, we're feeding each other. You know what I'm saying?
1000%.
You're feeding me, so this is the system that we're ingesting. Same.
And echoing what you just said, I love the approach, and I think that there is something very powerful in what you just expressed here. I'm gonna bring you back in as soon as you fix the camera, but it's the idea of ingesting the system, not only by consuming food. And that is exactly, this is deep. I like that. Not because, oh my God, I'm getting, excited about what I'm saying, but I like where this is taking us, this conversation, because it's like a reaffirmation of something that we know. But, considering that if we're going to be consuming someone else's system, right? And that system that we're about to consume, as in that interaction we're about to have with one given person who is not balanced or harmonized, or as Pablo was just saying, who is not at peace with themselves, or at least is not on the way to try to find peace with themselves. It's the type of combination that can lead you to a very disastrous sort of connection. And so basically, so what I was saying is that, by ingesting another system, right? An interaction is the consumption of a given set of energies, or a given set of experiences that can either poison you or heal or even, feed you, right? Poisonous energy or good energy. And so that's why it's very important to understand that what we were just saying, the food that you take in is not just physical food. It's as Pablo was saying, is the choice of your friends, the quality of the people around you will either uplift or bring you down. In other words, right? So if you want to keep it simple, it's very profound what you're saying, because so then this well, we're going deep, but this then brings us back to that whole concept of the matrix, where it's like we're all connected through one system,